Hi guys, so today we're going to be working on a rough draft of our body paragraph for our mini literary analysis essay on Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin. And I wanted to just go over what you need to do for a literary essay, a literary analysis essay, where you are focusing on the author's choices and their effects in the text. But we've done this step by step, and you've got this. So don't even worry, all right? So just to recap, you want to make sure that you are providing analysis and not facts or summary. You will use the facts in order to interpret them, but you don't want to only provide facts and summary because that's not an analysis. So the facts you will find in the text, they could be dialogue, description, word choice, and nobody could reasonably make an argument against facts or summary. Analysis is what you're after. You need to interpret. An analytical statement will examine the purpose, effect, and meaning of the facts in the text. This is where you're looking at the author's choices, the different literary elements that they use, and what the effects are. What is the author trying to say through characterization, tone, mood, imagery, etc.? So, and also an analysis statement should be arguable. Someone could argue against it because they could have a different interpretation. So we've already done this, we've made our assertions, but I want you to make sure and double check. I have given you guys feedback, but I did give you guys some tips about how to focus on the author's use of language. If you are making a statement an assertion that is mostly summary, you're going to want to retool it to focus on the author's choices. Okay, so focus on how the author uses literary elements to create effects in the text. And you want to look at these questions. How does the author's use of language develop themes in the text? So you're going to have to look at what is the author saying in this work? What are the major themes of this work? And then how does the author show us those themes through the use of different literary elements? Okay, you want to also answer the question, why does the author use this element? What effect does it have in the text? So this is where we were. We were looking at evidence. So on Tuesday, we connected evidence and commentary. So you want to find evidence that supports your assertion. You're going to want to find for your body paragraph 3 different pieces of evidence that support your assertion. Then you want to connect the evidence to your assertion with commentary. You need to explain how the evidence supports your assertion. Don't assume that the reader of your analysis knows what you mean without you explaining it. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that it's obvious just because your interpretation might be different from someone else's. You need to explain your thinking, and it's really helpful to use those analytical verbs. So you have that list of analytical verbs, and you have a list of nouns that focus on technique. And those will help you to, make some determinations about the author's choices and to describe them in terms that focus on the author's purpose. You might need to provide context with your evidence. So just to orient us in the story, you might need to just talk about what part of the story you're referencing with your evidence. So this is where we are today. We're going to put it all together for our rough draft. So you want to make your assertion, provide context, summary, so that the reader is oriented in the text. Introduce your quotation with context and properly format or cite it. Then explain through commentary how your evidence supports your assertion. So you're putting all the steps together in a way that makes sense. So you might want to put your evidence in chronological order. What shows up first in the text. You might want to put your evidence where you have your best evidence last, just for the biggest impact. All right, so you might want to play around with it. Let's look at an example. So I want you today to actually label your assertion, context, evidence, and commentary on your body paragraph. If you are doing this on the Google slide, you could also use highlight of different colors if you provide a key. That's fine, if you'd rather not write assertion, context, evidence, commentary. So in this example, and I like this example because you guys read Mockingbird last year, the assertion is that through the actions of Atticus Finch, Lee suggests that real courage comes in many forms. Then they give context. Atticus forces Jem to read the racist Mrs. Dubose so he can help her beat a morphine addiction. This is shortly after the incident with the rabid dog, and Jem is in awe of his father's prowess with a rifle. So that's that context. Notice that that is all summary. It's not anything that could be argued, but it's necessary to orient the reader into the story. Then a little bit more context in the introduction to the evidence. After Mrs. Dubose's death, that's some context, Atticus explains to him, I wanted you to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand. So that's the evidence. It is quoted. It has a citation tag. And again, with this story, yours is going to be 1 or 2, because it's just 2 pages. And then this is the most important part, the commentary, because this is your interpretation. Atticus presents a contrast to Jem's version of courage as a violent act, suggesting instead that it is one that requires determination and sacrifice. So you see that you need to explain how the evidence connects back to the assertion. Explain your thinking so that the reader understands. Okay? So today's rough draft. Tomorrow we're going to work on putting an introduction and a conclusion into our first draft. And then Monday, Tuesday of next week, we're going to revise for a primary assessment. So you're going to have a quiz grade for it on Friday, and then we're going to just put whatever feedback into application and revise it next week for a primary assessment. All right, so good luck today. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be giving you guys some feedback. Make sure you use the checklist that's on Schoology after you're finished with your body paragraph. All right, guys, have a great day.